Hi, in this video I will show you how to put together the table saw box, which is an SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs. So here are the pieces. So I've separated them a little bit so you can see which one's which. We have the stand. So let me show you a finished one first, actually. So here's the table saw. So it is a box that comes off. You can see there's the inside of the lid with the saw. You can see that. I'm trying to get the angle. And it does turn because we have it attached with the brad. So you can't see it, but I'll show you the mechanism. I covered the mechanism so if you open and close the box, it wouldn't get damaged. And then here's the bottom piece, which just kind of shows the front of kind of a typical table saw. I just tried to make it simple, but also get some detail in it, and then just panels. So you could add a little sentiment to each of these panels, or one of these panels, if it were for a birthday or Father's Day or something like that. And this can go on either way, however you want. But this box goes on the inside, so it goes flat like that. And you have that. So you can put the, like I said, the lid on either way. And of course the colors. It's fairly simple to make too. So we're going to just go ahead and start. So we're going to go ahead and do the panels first, but let me tell you the pieces. So this is the bottom box, and these are the pieces to the legs. And then we have the top, the lid, and the pieces that go on top. And we have these panels. These are part of the panels. This is for the front and into the sides. And then here are the little pieces with the saw and some other things in there for the front. And I keep them in here so I don't lose them. And then this is for the fence that's up there. That's what that piece is. And this is part of the mechanism to hold the wheel. And this is the covering. So we'll go through that. That's probably going to be the last thing we do. So we're going to go ahead and put that to the side, as well as those pieces. So we can go ahead and we can start putting together. Let's just put together some of the panels and the saw. So the panels, I already put two of these panels together. They're all the same. Those just line up. So the trick here, though, is to get a really thin line of glue around the edge. So I would do the middle first. Have some glue on my mat. Because we have to go really light on this border section. You want to make sure you go light so it doesn't leak through. If I did it first too, sometimes if I go too light, it'll start drying on me, and I want to make sure that it's not completely dry by the time I get it on. Because it's such a thin edge, sometimes I have a little piece of, like a wet damp paper towel. So I always go and I start at an edge. I'm going to try to match it up. Drop it down carefully, and I was a little bit off on the bottom, so I'm just going to pick it up and just move it around and get it in place. So there's three of these, and see I had a little bit of leakage there. Not where I thought it would be. I thought it would be around here, but it was around the middle. So be careful when you get glue near the edges of the openings. Like I said, a little damp paper towel. I keep this anyways because it helps just in case I get glue on my fingertips, trying to keep it off. Because you know, when you have working with blacks particularly and metals, it gets a little bit, it can show, the glue can show a lot on those. So I have those three. Now this is the front. So that's this little panel right here. So we'll go ahead and put all the flat pieces on it. We'll start with this, just putting that on there. So we want to put the glue on the white piece because we know where the opening is. And I'm going to go kind of get a wide berth around that opening so I don't get a lot of glue leakage around the on that black. Just kind of get it lined up as best you can, and then I just pick it up and just press all the edges to make sure it's lined up. And in here, I'm going to pull out this piece. If you want to pop this up, I wouldn't put this piece on yet. But if you don't and you're just going to glue it on flat, then we can put it on. I'll do that for this. And same thing with any of the, like the button part. So I'm going to pop up a couple portions. I'll show you. Just pull that out. So I'm going to pop up the little handle with the enamel dot. So I'm not going to put that on it yet. And the same thing with what represents the power button. So I have a little foam tape on the back. So I'm not going to put that on quite yet. All the rest of this is for the saw. So we'll put those together. We'll put that together next. And then this just represents if you look at a table saw, there's usually kind of like a little ruler. I mean, you can put little lines if you want to put the lines in. That's up to you. But that's what it represents. It just gives it a little bit more gives it more of an effect of what it kind of looks like at the front. So you just kind of eyeball it. If you don't want to use them, you can use something different, obviously. And just making sure the metallic was up. So typically these would be like rulers with little measurements on them. And this is the handle to turn it. So what I'm going to just make sure I can put glue on all of it. Unless you wanted to do like a pop dot or something. But I'm going to kind of rotate it so it can be seen, and it's going to sit in this little groove. So I'm just going to put the circle part, the middle part, in the groove. And then I'll just eyeball where I want this. Then we'll put the little popped up power switch and the little handle that goes on the edge here after we put it together. So now we have the saw. So we have a couple things. These are just reinforcements around the saw the middle of the circle. So we have two sides. They're opposite of each other. As you can see, one's matte. This particular metallic paper is matte gray on one side and metallic on the other. So these go together. So we want to match them up. All these teeth are the same. So we just want to match them up. It'll give it a little bit more thickness, and then it will be metallic on both sides. So if you have a double-sided metallic, which I doubt you do, but you could, you wouldn't need to do this, but this is also just to give you a little bit more thickness to the blade. So we're gluing these back to back, and when we glue them back to back, I'm being careful about getting it too close to the edge. The middle's okay. It's just the edge. I want a little bit of glue, so I'm just kind of moving it around when I get towards the tip, so I can glue them together. Now we'll just go carefully, make sure it's the right way. Gonna rotate it until they're lined up. And once you have them in place, you can go ahead and apply pressure. So I thought a good effect, I was playing around with inks, and I thought a good effect was this white. Because when it wears down, it kind of gets a, usually sometimes there's like black on the edge, and then it kind of is a like ground down metallic on a real blade. So I just went around, did white. I'm going to do white. So you can barely see it, but when you see it in person, it gives it a little bit of a worn effect, like the blade has been used. So I'm getting it on both sides. I didn't line it up as well on this side. So if you do have that issue with a line up, we'll just make sure that the lined up blade, the best part's on the top. I mean, you'll still be able to turn, but just take your time doing that. And if I was really that particular, I would have just cut 2 more and did it again. Then just putting a light black. And you can use any kind of inks that you have, like distress ink or oxide inks. I just happen to have these in my stash still, and they're just no longer sold. So these little color box ink pads, they know the company went out of business. So I used a white and then like a black on the edge. I don't know if you can see it, but kind of gives it a little bit of effect. So again, these are just reinforcements, like I said. So I'm just going to put 2 on both sides. It's not critical to what it looks like. It's just hopefully helps to make it turn a little bit. I just don't want it to break down that hole in the middle, so this helps to give it a little bit more structure. Because we'll put a brad through it. You can't see it, but I'm still putting it in metal so the metallic is out. Then we'll let that dry on the side. So now we're going to put these aside. Other than I'm going to put the saw back in there, put it aside. And then other than these, we'll put these on when we put this box together. And then we'll put together the stand as well. So let's go ahead and put together the box. Step aside. So we're going to fold these on the scores as shown. And you can go ahead and make sure you get a good edge on them. And then we can go ahead, we're going to go ahead and just glue these together right here with this tab. So we want to glue this tab to the inside. And then we'll go ahead and add these to the front. So this is the reason why I didn't add anything that's dimensional in the front yet, because we want to be able to apply pressure. I'm going to put it right here, right about here, and we just want to put it around the edge here. So there's going to be as much distance on the right and left as it is on the bottom. The top has a bigger gap. So I mean, you could center it, but whatever you want to do, really. But typically, it would just be a little section towards the bottom here. That is centered left and right. And then these 3 we'll just put right here. And those are centered in each section. So it is helpful to fold it first, because you can see the edges, the ends, the border of each section a little bit better. At least I can when it's folded. So this is good. I'm using a art glitter glue and course, this would be great for somebody who's into tools. That's what I intended it for. I'd never seen anything like it, so I thought, well, I wonder if I can do it. I was able to. And I try to do a lot of projects that are considered projects for men, even though I know plenty of women that used table saws and other tools. So if you do like a lot of these projects that I make and share and sell, and even my freebies, I'd appreciate a little like down there, or if you could subscribe to our channel. And if you hit that little bell next to the subscription, you'll be notified when we have new projects or new tutorials on YouTube. Okay, so we have that ready to go. So all we're going to do is flip this over, fold that one section over, and on this tab right here, we're just going to add glue. And we're going to fold it over. Match this edge up to the tab fold here. It should go pretty close to where it needs to be. If it's a little bit off, it just means that you glued the first tab, maybe not completely straight. So for this next one, you could glue the tabs inside. Make sure that's good and secure before I move on so I don't pull it apart. You could glue the tabs inside, but you know, it's fine on the outside because we're going to put this on a stand that you're not going to see the tabs. So I'm going to glue them on the outside, and it'll allow us to put pressure on the tabs from within pretty easily. So I'm going to flip it down like that. We'll start by adding glue to this opposite tab, just to get it in place. Making sure it's straight across. Oops. You can do all three at once too. I just don't like to do that with larger tabs normally. And then we'll just add glue to these other two tabs to secure them. Again, you're not going to see these tabs because this will be sitting on top of those legs. And just kind of flip it down, flip it over, and apply some pressure. What's nice about this, and then you don't see the tabs inside. So you won't see the tabs at all because they'll be hidden. So it gets it clean inside. So that's all set. So now we just have to put together the legs. So you can see I already folded this piece. So I'm going to fold the other piece so you can see how I just gently folded it. So there's this tab. So just kind of fold that around like that. And then I kind of reach in, fold like that. And then this last half leg fold. So again, this is fairly simple to put together. We're just going to go ahead and add glue to this one of these tabs. They're identical pieces. I'm going to line this edge up to the tab fold and make sure that it's lined up on the top and bottom as well. And then when you flip it over, take this section with the tab, the remaining tab, just fold it over and add glue to that tab. And again, when you fold over that section on the right, it should match pretty close up to where it needs to be. You might have to adjust it just a little bit to line it up. Easy peasy. So now we just need to add this piece. Since we don't want the tabs to be seen, we're just going to put this piece in like that. And you could put the textured side down so the non-textured will glue better to the non-textured if you're using American Craft cardstock like I am. So we're going to add glue to these 4 tabs underneath, so fold them in like this. I'm right-handed and the camera's on my left, so I think you're getting the idea though that I'm just adding glue to these 4 tabs. So I'm taking and I'm putting the textured side underneath, so the non-textured is gluing to these non-textured tabs. And then I'm just going to go around the edge, just pushing in, making sure that these sides, that little fold, inside fold, matches up to these panel sides, edges. And you can get a lot of force down too. So there you go. It's a little bit off right there. I just didn't get it exactly straight on that corner. That happens. And in this case, I'd make that the back if that was an issue for me. So there's the stand. So now what we need to do is gently attach this to here. So I'm going to pick the best side. It is square, so that little weird corner I had, I'm going to put in the back. I like that edge better. Actually, I want the flat on the front. So I have 2 crosses on the side and then that flat for the front. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue them, but we can just do this to glue it on. So on the spot of the box, I'm getting glued close to the edge as possible without too much coming out, because we don't want it to get on the black and be visible. Sounds like I'm scratching the paper, huh? Then I'm going to make this the front. I'm just trying to find the front piece. Trying to line it up. Kind of eyeball it to get it in the right place. And once you're satisfied with where it's located, you can go ahead and apply some pressure. So a knife would just gently rub in there to apply it. And you could do this too, is just hold it. You just don't want to bend the legs or anything like that, so it's not easy to bend down like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. If it's just off slightly, that's okay. I mean, it's measured exact, but box folds are never exact. And I have the black base is slightly larger than this, so just be aware of that. When I mean slightly, really slightly. So there it is. So now what we need to do is do the top. So let's go ahead and finish putting the saw doesn't come until we do the lid. Let's put these 2 pieces on. So it'll be ready once we get that top piece. So I have a little foam tape on the back of each of these. I'm going to put this on the edge, just kind of like a little handle that pops up. So you can really put it anywhere. I'm going to put it towards what looks good to me. Then I have a little enamel dot I'm going to add to the top of that to give it a little bit of depth. And dimension. Then we can go ahead and add the piece of trash there. Then we'll add this little power button, and then the rounded part I put on top. I'm going to try to center it, but it has a little pop dot. So this can continue to dry on the side, and so we'll put it on the side until we get the lid done. So now we're going to put together the fence piece, which will go on top at the very end, and the lid and the panels on the lid. So let's go ahead and glue these together. So these, just line these up. What this is the middle where the saw will come out, and then these are typically grooves that you find in table saw, and then this fence is usually what they need to help. It's like a guide for the top of a table saw if you're not familiar with it. So let's do this one first. So we're just going to fold this piece. And I made the decision, typically I would have like these little end pieces to make a teeny box, but it doesn't do anything if you have these open. So these sides aren't going to be glued. So this longer piece right here, that's the top, and this is the bottom. So let's go ahead and this folds over like that. So we're going to fold that over. I know it doesn't look like a tab per se, but it's angled a little bit. Going to add glue to the inside of this. And fold it over like that, so it goes flat. I didn't exactly get that straight, so let me, if you don't, it's not a huge deal, but try to get that edge in there, but it looks like it's okay. So one side's longer than the other, so this piece right here is longer than that piece. So we're going to flip that piece down. So this will be the top right here. I'm going to just make sure it's square by holding my finger and my thumb like that. And then just apply some pressure to get that to close. Like typically with the box, and it went sideways. Just make sure it's straight. Typically with the box I'd have two little tabs here, but it really didn't. This makes it way easier, and it really doesn't take it away from the look. So there's really no function here, it's just a look. So I'm going to fold that up, put some glue on that tab, make sure it's straight, line this one up with that one. Just be careful not to get glue on your fingertips at the end. We could do that. So this is the top. So this is the side. So this is really interesting. This is going to go, this panel rises above. So it's the same length, but it's a little bit taller. So what we're going to do is line it up with that bottom edge on both sides, and it's just raised a little bit. So these are the sides. I'm going to go like this, line it up to the bottom edge, and it's the same, it goes all the way to the, it's the same length, and then just attach it that way and just kind of lightly rub without squishing it. So you see there's like a little raised area, just gives it a little bit of a dimension of what it kind of looks like on a table saw. Or some table saws at least, not all. So make sure you remember which side's the bottom so you can line it up. Do it the same exact way on the other side. And then you can see that'll go on last. So when I add the glue to this one, I just make sure I don't get too close to the openings and add glue on the rest of it. And then that circular, that middle part, just make sure I don't have glue on my fingertips. We're just going to align it up to an edge to get it started. I'm going to pick it up, and since that middle cutout section is the same size, we can use that to make sure it's in the right place, and then apply pressure there. Then let's go ahead and put together this lid. So with the lid, we're just going to glue these 4 tabs to the inside edges. So we'll go ahead and this is typically how I do a lid like this. So I'm going to get it lined up. Line that edge up to the tab fold. And because it takes a second usually for them to dry, I usually hold it in place and add glue to the next tab, just to save time. I want to make sure I'm getting glue close to the fold. Then I just want to carefully line that up. So this is going to fit inside the box. So you know, make sure that you don't get too much, have it too off, because we want it to fit inside. Just make sure it's good and folded. Like I didn't show you how it folded, but you can pretty much see, and just make sure you get crisp edges. So it makes it easier to glue and match up. Get those corners nice and crisp. And since I'm right-handed, I usually do the left one first. I'm still holding it. You could always get something to hold it too, but I like to hold it in place until I get the other one glue, have the glue going. That's just something I like to do with lids. And you're going to see there's a cut line, and that's for the inside. This is going to get covered anyways, but we can still see a cut line, a dashed cut line. You'll be able to see it light in the inside. So we're using that to use it for the guard that hides the saw. I guess that's what you can call it. That's what I'm calling it. Or the piece that hides the guard. So if you are using metallics, now I decided not to do a shiny metallic on the assembly video because I'm talking while I'm doing it, so sometimes I'm not paying attention as close as I should be other than to what I need to tell you. So if you are using a metallic, be careful, keep your mat clean, else you will see remnants of it everywhere, and glue doesn't wipe off very easily off of some of those. So we're going to go ahead and glue this on top of this, and we want this to have the same border. So what we'll do is we'll add glue to this. But what you want to do, there's 2 ways you could do it. This is how I would do it. I'd add glue around the edge of this and up to like right here, and then go around here and add glue to this, and then place it. That way we won't get too close to the opening with glue if we do it on the red part. But again, that's up to you. We're doing this before the saw because once you put the saw on, you really can't apply pressure to the top anymore. You can see how close I'm getting to it. So I'm just going to go to the back of this. Just kind of go around, giving it a little bit of room. And then you just want to eyeball, make sure that there's a border around that red, pretty much consistent. because you know the edge hangs off, so we don't want to add glue to this. So once we get it in place, you can flip it over and apply pressure that way. This is fairly simple to put together. This is where it gets a little bit, the last part is probably the part you want to pay attention to the most, because the rest of it's pretty much boxes. So we have this mechanism, these two things right here. We have little folds or scores on these, so you can fold them back or forward, it doesn't matter. We'll just go with the mountain fold on both sides. We don't care what this looks like because you can't see it. These are opposite of each other. So these are going to glue, let's get that black background out of the way, back to back, with these flaring out like that. These will glue to the sides of the lid. So once you have them folded like this, just add glue to one of them, one section here. And again, we're gluing it opposite, so we want these to flare out. It's got a little glue on the back there. So it should look like this. We're going to match up the hole just to make sure that we're in the right place. And like that. So if you can see that, the way it flares off, like that, those tabs. This is going to hang into the box. It's going to go like this, so I'll show you how it dry fits. So let me just do it so you can kind of see it without putting anything else on it. We're going to put this in here. And it doesn't really matter which way, it's not that big of a deal. We have a little brad. I'm just attaching it with a brad. If you wanted to do it with glue, you could always just, if you don't want it to turn, you can always put a piece of paper on the back, but this is just so it, don't put it really tight. Because I still want it to, there's a little give, it won't be as, so I still want it to turn. So remember, we're not going to see any of this. So this part will go like this. So let me show you it. Now I have to pick it up to show you. So you'll have to eyeball where it goes. You see there's that little hole? When you stick it in like that, you might want to be more in the center so it rotates without hitting the sides. So that's kind of what your goal is when you put it in there. Like that. You don't need to put it all the way down, else you'll start seeing these parts. So what I do is fold these back. So this is why I'm going slow. I'm going to fold these tabs back. I'm going to add glue, and you can do it to both sides at once. I would lift it up a little bit because you want it to be able to go through. Make sure this is facing inside the box, the big piece. I'm going to go like this. Kind of going to get it in place first. Get that one side glued. Once I have that one side glued, so you see I've just folded it back against the side. Just going to move this. See what it looks like on the other side. have it a little bit to the left a little bit. So you just want to get it in that hole. And there you go. And you can see that top a little bit, but you can see it turns. So I'm just going to make sure I put a little bit more pressure on these sides. So you don't have to go all the way to the top of the, I gotta be careful, don't set it down there, top of the lid, but you can go just a smidgen above the top of the lid and it'll get you in the right place. You can go all the way to the top too. Just be careful setting it down like this because now you have something protruding. You don't want to pull it apart. So I'm just rotating it to a better portion of the saw. So that was probably the hardest part. The next part is a little bit difficult, but so we're going to put this like this. Just gently sit it. And we're going to go ahead and fold this. So this is the guard that will go on top. There's tabs here. And then, so it looks like this. So it's a little fold here. And then we're going to valley fold right here. With you kind of holding it up, there's some dashed lines right there. That's where we're going to put this edge. So it's going to help you just place it in here and cover. You can barely see them. If you need to see them more, you can always pen them in if you need to. There, I'll actually do that. Like right there. So if you do use the pen to pen them in like this, just make sure you just go a little further, so if you don't want the person getting it to see it, you can go ahead and just go beyond it. So I'll show you. Stick it right there so it holds it. So we're going to do one side at a time. So we want to go, I'm just going to go either right to the edge or right beyond it. So we're going to go right beyond it. And make sure it's centered here. We have a little room, wiggle room from here to here. Then I'm applying the pressure with my fingers here and on the front at the same time. The biggest thing is you don't want to ruin that saw. So you don't want to move it around. So we add glue on that second tab. Gently kind of push it in, get it in place. Again, I'm putting it just beyond those dashed lines that I wrote on. And you can just center it by kind of folding it. All that does is protect it, so when you put something inside, you don't want to put something really, really bulky inside, but it'll fit like a little small thing of candy or nuts or gift card, or you just want it for decor. And that's it, other than this little fence. So you can put the fence on either side. I had a couple little glue pieces on the top here. So now all I have to do is add it to the top. So I just glued on the fence to one side. You can see that it's like that. Just put it on the edge like that. It fits right here. Then we go ahead and we gently put it on. Now it is a tight fit and it goes inside. So if it's curled, as you can see, this is kind of curved in. You might have to gently kind of pull the sides out. It's just because of the glued panels. But it should be a snug fit. I'm just going carefully around the edges. Yes, it's not going to be easy to get on and off, but it does go down. So you can see I have it down inside and gives it the look. So that's it. Again, if you like this project, give me a little thumbs up below. And I appreciate your support. And thank you so much for watching.